Hey, and welcome to this week's Rogue Trader Academy trading update. And woo-wee, what a week and what a couple of weeks it's been. Really a lot of sell pressure, a lot of people feeling the pain if they're long oriented. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at the two accounts that we share with you. One is a very long oriented account called a synth miner, where we try and accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. And the second one is called the DirtyBird, which is a little bit more Delta Neutral. What does Delta Neutral mean? It just means that it benefits if the price doesn't move too far in one direction or the other. If the price does move a lot in that direction, we have to make adjustments. And of course, that's the wonderful thing with options is you can make adjustments and recoup that. So for instance, if you were trading oil or Tesla or something, or if you just went and bought Bitcoin, for example, and the price goes against you, what can you do? Well, you can wait until it comes back. You can average in, you're sort of limited in what you can do. With options, you don't have those limitations. And what we do is as that price of the asset moves around, we can adjust our perspective. We can adjust our orientation to make it a little bit more long oriented in terms of we think it's going up, or short oriented if we think it's going down. So let's get started. Let's take a look at the action Bitcoin had over the last week or two, as well as the spreadsheets and the performance of these two strategies so far. All right, so here we can see Bitcoin and its price right now. It's around 64,700, 64,800, around that area. But gosh, I mean, look here. Here's July 29th, we were up almost near $70,000. Now, this area up here, I'll just highlight it here with my marker. That was around the Bitcoin conference. RFK Jr. and Trump were speaking in Nashville, and there's a little bit of volatility there. So that's that area. But I mean, if we want to look at the drop from where we were just a few days back to where we are now, for tip to tail, very bottom was down over 11%. Right now we're down about 7% where we sit right now at this moment. But let's keep things in perspective. Assets go up, assets go down. That we've been trading a long time. That's just the way it goes. If you just want something to go up, you should probably find a different profession. However, look, this is the silly chart, right? Why is it called the silly chart? It's called the silly chart because all I do is just a little bit of support and resistance. No technicals in here, nothing crazy, except for the unicorns. I've got technical unicorns on the top and bottom. Don't ask me about that. So we've got this big area of resistance up here. And what is this area? Well, this is the area where Bitcoin, it's the all-time high. It's the low 70s. It's going to bump its head on that time and time again until it finally breaks to the upside, which we expect to happen sometime in the near future. We've got this area down here, this area of support, which is in the high 50s. It's kind of gone down there and threatened a few times, but shot right back up every single time. We can see it back here as well at the end of April of this year. And we've got a smaller area of support right here in the middle. And lo and behold, it punched its way through barely, but rejected and came up with the top. So it's just sitting on the top of that support area right now. What are we likely to do? From a trader's perspective, trading is just level to level. That's all things have, just level to level if you want to simplify it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like this, maybe go back up to the high. Or on the other hand, if it's going to stay weak, maybe some bad news comes out, maybe it will hit its head. That'll turn into resistance and we'll get something like that. Who knows? But it's going to be level to level. It could just go sideways for a while too. Anything's possible, but it's level to level. So we're right on top of a support area right now. This is great in terms of most of our strategies because I've been preaching to people for ages and I've been making so much money off Bitcoin. I make money in channels more so than I do in trending markets. And the reason why is trending markets are sometimes a little hard to identify when the trend starts. You don't know if it's a trend starting. And a lot of people get a bit nervous if the trend's been going for a while because they think, oh my gosh, am I getting into the end of this thing? Am I going to get hosed? For me, trading in a channel is the best thing ever. It gets to the top of the channel. There's certain actions I can take to take advantage of that. At the bottom of the channel, certain actions I can take, whether that's selling spreads or buying long spreads or buying perpetuals, or there's a lot of different strategies we can look at. So as long as the price just keeps bouncing in between here, I'm very, very happy. But I know eventually all support and resistance breaks. Okay. And we have this long-term orientation where we think, hey, we think the price of Bitcoin, like many, many other people, is probably going to go up in the near future. October next year, 2027, it could be at 250,000. Who knows? We have no idea. We think there's going to be long-term appreciation. So what we want to do is we want to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, especially when we're, bouncing around here in preparation for when it does really start to make its next leg up, if that does come to fruition. So let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet and see how our strategies are faring so far. And bear in mind, the synth miner account is a long strategy. It's always going to take a bit of pain when the markets are weak, and the markets have been quite weak for the last, certainly last week. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenging week. So let's go over there and take a quick look at the spreadsheets. Okay, here's our spreadsheet. And first up, we're going to take a look at the synthetic miner account. Now, what the heck is this thing? Well, it's an account that attempts to generate Bitcoin. So we want to compete with a miner. So a miner is someone who goes out there and buys lots of computer equipment, and they try and mine Bitcoin to have more Bitcoin. So we're doing the same thing, but we're using options to do so. So if we take a quick look here, we can see this was started at the end of February 29th. We started off with 0.0825 of Bitcoin, which cost us about $5,200 at that time. We want to compare this against people who hodl. Hodling is just holding it. So we put our money into Bitcoin and started trading options. Other people put their money into Bitcoin and they're just sitting and holding it. And how do those stack up? So this strategy has been running for 155 days now. Doesn't seem that long, but it is. And so we're up. Now we have 0.1157 of a Bitcoin. So we've increased our Bitcoin by 27% in 155 days. Now this has been higher. We're in a stage of a drawdown right now because of the weakness. Remember, it's a long-oriented strategy. We're generally pointing long, bullish. We want this thing to go up. We'll make more money. So we have to expect on days or weeks when it's down, we're going to see that equity drop a little bit. If we take a look at the US dollar return, we've returned about 30% so far in the 155 days. If we want to annualize those numbers, our annualized Bitcoin return is 75%, and the US dollar return is about 85%. Not too bad. Again, if you're hodling, you're going to have a 0% return because you're never going to increase the amount of Bitcoin that you bought. You're just going to hold it forever. If your US dollar return for hodling is about 2% compared to our 85. So when we look against hodling, I mean, we're blowing it away, even though sometimes we get disappointed when the market doesn't do exactly what we want it to do, but it never will. Let's just take a quick look at the chart. We can see a massive drawdown here that happened. That was that huge move down that happened a couple weeks back. But you can see how quickly it recovered. And that's something very unique to options. And remember, I said, if you own an underlying asset, doesn't matter what that asset is, and the price goes down, what can you do except wait till the price comes back? With options, we start to make adjustments. And we see those adjustments taking effect. We got right back up. In fact, we made a new high just a few days ago, but we just took a little dip down this week with the market weakness. That is the Bitcoin return right here. And we can take a look at the US dollar return here. Again, we hit a new high just a few days ago, but we're down a little bit, but we're still up near that trend line. So we're pretty darn happy. The red line is HODLer. Again, the HODLers are always going to be zero. And we'll look at the HODLer US dollar return. And that's just going to fluctuate with the price of Bitcoin. As is ours, but ours is adding more Bitcoin to it. So ours is going to be higher. So we're outperforming there. I'm very happy with that. Let's take a look at the DirtyBird. Now, the DirtyBird is a Delta Neutral strategy, or more Delta Neutral. Generally, we start off Delta Neutral, but as things change, we start to adjust that risk and that orientation. Are we a little bit more bullish? Are we a little bit more bearish? And we can adjust for that. Now, let's take a look here. This the DirtyBird, where is it? We started this off in May 6th. So we haven't had it for too long. It's only been 88 days. Started off with 0.0621 Bitcoin, which was worth about $4,000 at the time. And we want to compare that to HODLers. So how are we doing? Well, we're up 11%. So we've generated 11% more Bitcoin in 88 days than what we started with. And we're up over 9% US dollar return. Now, the point of the DirtyBird strategy isn't just to accumulate Bitcoin. It's a slightly different strategy. We want to accumulate Bitcoin and US dollars. Now, if we compare that to hodling, of course, if you hodl, your Bitcoin's not going to increase at zero. You're a little bit negative if you were in US dollars, if you are hodling. But we're up 9%. So if we annualize it, we're up 54% in Bitcoin and 44% US dollar return. We can see here, here's that big dip down. We had quickly recovered it with the Dirty Bird, but we've just taken a little bit of a hit. We made adjustments this morning, which of course you can see on our live streams, what we do. So next week, this number should look a lot better. Here's the US dollar return. And again, we hit a new high just recently, but we just took a little bit of a drawdown this week. And that's perfectly normal when you're trading because, hey, things don't just always go exactly how you want them to. If you want that, you probably shouldn't be trading. But that's the update for this week's Rogue Trader Academy Trading Update. See you next week.